Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks, and welcome to the 25 greatest Bruce Springsteen songs ever, according to me. Well, I don't even know if greatest. My favorite. It's gonna be my favorite 25 Springsteen songs. So it's kind of just a way to go through. We can talk about some of these songs, and of course, in the comments when I'm done, I want to hear yours. What are your favorites? I first got on the Bruce train probably 1984 with Born in the USA, of course, that whole juggernaut, and never got off. And Neil Young, Bruce Springsteen. You guys have watched my channel long enough. Those are probably two of my favorite artists, or my two favorite artists. I'd probably put Neil at the top, but I've been a Bruce super fan longer than I've been a Neil super fan. So yeah, these picking 25 songs is tough. But to paraphrase JFK, we are here to do the hard things. So, with a lot of these, it's going to be like a specific version. Um, those of you who know Springsteen know that live Bruce is a whole different animal than studio Bruce. Now, a lot of these are studio tracks, but I'm going to have a lot of live tracks too. And so, and obviously, I'm going to tell you which version, where to find them, because a lot of these top 25, the studio version might not be in the 25, but it's this live version that just really kicks it up to higher gear. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna do here. And one other interesting thing I've noticed before we dive in, Bruce is great with title tracks. I counted here in my list of 25, 7 of these songs are title tracks to his certain albums. I just thought that was kind of interesting. I thought that was kind of a high percentage. So yeah, I guess he knows how to do the title track. Well, let's get started. And like I said in the comments, I want to hear yours. So see how you guys line up with me or not or whatever. All right, and if you're not a Springsteen, if you don't know a lot of Springsteen, maybe this is a good way to get into him. At number 25, we're going to 2002 off of the Rising album. And the song is going to be the opener, Lonesome Day. I remember first hearing that song. I mean, vividly, actually. I was living in Austin at the time. And, I stuck with Bruce through the 90s. Even the period that even Springsteen himself referred to as, his lost decade. He just wasn't doing his best work, wasn't quite focused. And then this album comes along, The Rising. Now, I've got some issues with The Rising. I don't think it's a perfect album, but is the best album he put out in over a decade at that time. And he's reinvigorated, back with the E Street Band after not being with them for a decade, and obviously inspired by the tragedy of 9/11. So a lot of these songs are really focused on that, and flawed but still great record. And Lonesome Day just opens up, and I just remember that. It's like, wow, I've not heard a Springsteen song like this, driving and just this good and hooky in 10 years, at least. Better than anything that had been on, Human Touch or Lucky Town or any of those stuff in the 90s. Lonesome Day. Yeah, it was just a great opener, and I'm still fond of that song. All right, number 24. We're going to go up recently, 2020, to Letter to You. Now, the album is 2020. The song dates back to around 1972. Because if you're aware, there are several, was it two or three? Three songs on this were old trunk songs, old songs that he had since the early 70s, like when he first got started. And I think Song for Orphans had been on some bootlegs, but I don't think we had heard Janie Needs a Shooter, or my pick, If I Was the Priest. That's just, it's so cool to hear sort of modern E Street, Bruce's sort of modern sound, but tackling these older songs and just those kind of those fun lyrics and just his passionate reading. You can tell these songs still kind of mean something to him. And so, if I was the priest, from 2020's Letter to You, but the song dates back to at least 1972, as far as when it was actually written. All right. Number 23 got our first live album. We're going to be coming back to this quite a bit, but from his, of course, box set, live 1975 to 85, I'm going with Because the Night. Interesting song, great song. Anyone else, almost anyone else, this would have been like this great hit that they would have, put on their records. He wrote this in the late 70s, 77, 78. It was around the Darkness on the Edge of Town material, and then gave it away. Patti Smith, right? And Patti Smith actually had a decent hit with it. But it's a Springsteen written song. And the first official release of it was on here, just this blistering live version of that song. Oh God, it rocks so hard. Now, he has put out a studio version of that track, from those Darkness sessions on the Promise, the Promise, which was that 2 record set that he put out of additional, tracks from the Darkness sessions. Really, he's kind of treated as its own album. So there is a studio Because the Night on there, but for me, it's this live one here that is definitive. All right, another live one we're going to talk about here. And this one's kind of interesting where you have to find this. Now, the Essential Bruce Springsteen, this CD set, it's on there, but it originally appeared on the, believe it or not, the USA for Africa, We Are the World album. And I don't know if you remember this. We have a great video talking about this. Go back and find that. But so We Are the World, of course, the song is on here. But then a bunch of these artists who had been involved, donated a track, onto here. And Springsteen and the E Street Band donated this live version of, actually, it's a cover, Jimmy Cliff's Trapped. And that is my number 22, I believe. Yes, 22. From the Born in the USA tour. So, 84, 85 era. And yeah, it's kind of funny. I've been a fan of this song for decades. And I just recently, just out of curiosity, finally said, let's go listen to the Jimmy Cliff version. Bruce really does sort of make it his own, which is how I've always said you need to do a cover. If you're gonna do a cover, don't just do the same thing. Make it your own. And Bruce really does. Again, just really the dynamics in that song are great. These kind of spare verses, and then just explodes into the choruses. There's an epic Clarence Clemens sax solo in there. It's just awesome. All right, coming in at number 21. Now, I do have this on CD. It was on a soundtrack. I think this is the only song from the 90s that I have on here, from 1994. But I can't find that soundtrack, so we'll put it up here. But the song Springsteen contributed to Streets of Philadelphia. The song Streets of Philadelphia. Very subdued, like a lot of his stuff in the 90s, but really emotional. It's got that sort of blanket of synthesizers, which is real nice, and that sort of drum programming in there, and beautiful lyrics, and just the mood of that song is gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and yeah, love that song. So there you go. Number 20. That was 21. Yeah. So number 20, we're going to Nebraska. All right, from the album Nebraska, from 1982, and the song is Highway Patrolman. Highway Patrolman. There. Highway Patrolman. That, I've always said that the music comes first with me, like 99.9% of the time. I need to be into the music first, and then I can kind of get into the lyrics. This one, the music's fairly unremarkable. It's just kind of some pretty spare acoustic finger picking. So this is one of those rare instances where it really is the lyrics that are phenomenal. It's a 5 minute or so song. You just got to go read those lyrics. The It tells such a complete story. It sets the scene beautifully. It develops the story like a good novel or screenplay. These verses just paint these characters, these two brothers. One of them's a cop, and one of them's on kind of often the wrong side of the law, and just this just really complex morality between these two brothers, and climaxes in this scene. It's just stunning. It's like a film in 5 minutes, and in fact, it became a film. Sean Penn, I believe it was his directorial debut in 1991, The Indian Runner. Basically, that whole film was based on that song, and sort of expands on that story. That's how cinematic this song is. It's Highway Patrolman is just phenomenal, phenomenal. All right, number 19. Got a pretty obvious one here. Actually, his highest charting track or single in his whole career went to number two. He never had a number one. You know that? When Doves Cry, the Prince song, kept this tune out of the number one slot. But this is his number two, and this is Dancing in the Dark. Now, this is the 12-inch single here, but of course, originally appears on the Born in the USA album. Yeah, uh, Dancing in the Dark is, I mean, a great pop rock song from the '80s, and it's so cool that it's almost like, yeah, I can do this too. you know, the story I remember reading about it. I think it was one of the very last songs recorded and written for that album. Um, was it John Landau or I think it was John Landau? His manager, Svengali, best friend, whatever, advisor, basically told him this is great. This album is going to be great. We need like a real big hit. And supposedly Bruce just sat down and was like, okay, I'll write a hit. and came up with Dancing in the Dark, which is just this great pop song. It's fantastic. All right, well, let's stay with Born in the USA. Number 18, another track that was from that album originally, but I am going with a live version of this song. And I need to pull the box set out again. It's the title track to Born in the USA, but the live version off of 7585. I'm not a massive fan of the studio version. Some of the production's a little dated. And I don't know. Much misunderstood song, right? Sort of co-opted by some politicians as this patriotic jingle, but you read the lyrics, it's actually pretty dark. But the live version on here just takes it to a whole nother level. It's massive. I got to do a video soon on kind of my top concerts I've seen, but I saw Bruce on the Born in the USA tour. Massive stadium show opened with that, of course, and I just the sound is so huge, and it's really captured on here. And it's what's really cool. I love the guitar solo in this live version. Where the studio version would kind of be fading out. This just killer guitar solo in there extends this, and it's just huge in every way. Huge in every way. Love it. All right, where are we at now? 17, number 17. I'm gonna be going with "Lost in the Flood." It's a song from his debut, but again, I'm going with a live album or live version. So it was on his debut album initially. I think one of the best songs on that album too. Really kind of striking lyrics. But I'm going with this live version off of Hammersmith Odeon London '75. This is from the Born to Run tour. his very first appearance in Europe ever. And this is sort of a legendary show. And this is fantastic. Yes, what we got? One, two, three. That's 4 album set just to capture this whole show. His marathon shows, and the version of Lost in the Flood on here is just a stunner, powerful, and it's got that piano part where it gets started in the first couple verses, but when the band comes crashing in, it's great on the studio version, but on here it's like they just come crashing through the door. He's gunning that bitch. Oh, so it's oh my god, it's so good, so good. This is the version of Lost in the Flood, definitely. All right, number 16. This one is one of these rarities. You can find it on the 4 disc box set Tracks, and I have it. I just or I didn't pull it off the shelf, so um, editor can throw it up here real quick. But Tracks, which is the 4 CD box set he put out of rarities. This is from around 72, 73. This is, I think it's from the sessions of his second album, Wild the Innocent and E Street Shuffle. Uh, the song had been in his set forever, but it never released it, and his live sets. But this is a studio take of it, and it's awesome. It's this great example of that early Springsteen, more kind of loose, jazzy Springsteen. Pre-Born to Run. When he had David Sanchez in the band on keyboards, Vinny Lopez on drums. It's a little looser, kind of swings a little more, a little jazzier. And well, the song is, I haven't even told you the song. Song is Thundercrack. So Thundercrack, just this great example of that early Springsteen, like the clubs, and like 8 minutes or so, the band stretches out and jams. Early Springsteen is a lot more kind of jamming, than later tighter stuff. Just awesome. All right, number 15. I'm going well. So this is a song that he had uh, since the late '90s. Played it live in the late '90s and the 2000 reunion tour that I saw, um, but didn't put it on an album until 2014. Where he put it on the High Hopes album. So it's, this album is sort of kind of a clearing of the vaults. It's just a lot of songs he had been really since around 2000, maybe just tracks that hadn't made it onto these other albums, stuff he finished up, a couple of new stuff. So it's kind of one of these sort of grab bags, but it's actually a good record of his. And the song is American Skin, 41 Shots. Now, the version on here features Tom Morello on guitar doing his Tom Morello thing. It's cool, but unnecessary. It's just it's a really good song, very political. A lot of people, I'm not gonna get into the politics, but very political song. Details a shooting of uh, an immigrant in New York City from some cops. Not getting into the details of the case and whether it was warranted or not, but obviously the perspective of the song is that it wasn't. But it's politics aside, it's a powerful song. It's a powerful song, and I've always loved it. All right, coming in. Let's see, it's number 14. Another title track here. We're going to go with another live version too. Going to go with The River. But the version of The River off of 1975 to 85. Now, unfortunately, you put this on the CD, it's not separated. So you have The River, the song, but before that, there's about a 5 minute, where he's telling stories to the audience and talking about his relationship with his dad and all this stuff. And so you got like a 10-minute track on the CD where you can't get to the song. Obviously, a little easier to do on vinyl, but anyway. As usual, wonderful song on The River, the album, but just takes it up a notch and way more powerful, I think, in this live version. Uh, really strong harmonica playing from Bruce, and kind of a nice kind of extended ending where the band really kind of gets in this groove. Love it, love it. Oh, just keep this for number 13 because we're going with Spirit in the Night, a live staple. The studio track was on his debut album, but a live staple throughout the 70s, and he's returned to it periodically ever since. There's a ton of great versions out there, but it's just convenient. I love the version on here, the live version on here. Again, it kind of shows some of the dynamics of those earlier material, so it's pretty great. Although the version on here is where is it? From 1978, so the Roxy shows in '78. Pretty awesome. Oh, look at that! Let's just keep this because number 12 is another title track, the live version here, "Darkness on the Edge of Town." Powerful song on the album "Darkness on the Edge of Town," but again, live just kicks it up a whole notch. Yeah, that for me, there's like this one moment in this live version, where "Darkness on the edge of," and when he just yelled "Town," and he just like extends that into this like this yell. The band is cut out, and he's just like "Town," and then it's just there's a pause, and he's like "Yeah," and then the band just crashes in again. Man, it's just powerful stuff. It's great stuff. All right, all right, all right. Number 11, another title track. And I'm a huge fan. Go back and watch my Springsteen week where I rank all these albums. I have this very high. Uh, viewpoints are kind of divided on this. There's some people who think it's one of his greatest work, which I do. One of, not the, but one of. Other people aren't a fan of it that much, but it's 2019 Western Stars is the album. And for me, again, it's the title track. The title track is just, I mean, again, go back to that video if you want to hear about this album. But the title track is, uh, this record is so great. It's got such a great kind of thematically, it's sort of trying to do sort of country, but kind of that Southern California country from the late '70s or from the early '70s, kind of Glenn Campbell vibe, and it's just so good. I just think he does it perfectly, and that title track lyrically is so interesting. It's this story of he sort of takes on the persona of this kind of sea-level actor who'd been in some movies back in his day, but is now kind of doing commercials. This great. I wrote some of the lyrics down here. Like, once I was shot by John Wayne. Yeah, it was towards the end. That one scene's bought me 1,000 drinks. Set me up, and I'll tell it for you, friend. It's just so great because most of the song sounds like it's taking place in a bar, and he's just sort of talking about this stuff. But I mean, listen, just the vivid imagery here. Listen to this verse. "Here in the canyons above sunset, the desert don't give up the fight. A coyote with someone's chihuahua in its teeth skitters across my veranda in the night. Some lost sheep from Oklahoma sips her mojito down at the wet whiskey bar, smiles and says she thinks she remembers me from that commercial with the credit card." It's just, God, it's so good. Now, "A coyote with someone's chihuahua in its teeth skitters across my veranda in the night." Random, but such like a vivid image. I love that. I love it. All right. What's next here? All right, into the top 10. We're into the top 10. So let's return to The Rising with the title track. Just inspiring. I mean, what we needed after 9/11. We needed certain artists, and Bruce answered the call. And The Rising, such a amazing song. God, that's good. Just that late in the game, 2002, that late in his career, to be able to still sort of write these epic classics like The Rising. It's an incredible song. All right, number 9. Let's go back to Nebraska. I'm going with Atlantic City. I love how that was recorded. Yeah, you know the story. This is basically a demo that he had made to show his band, and they ended up just releasing the demos, the acoustic demos. And Atlantic City is just again, the imagery in that song is so uh, just specific and distinctive, and tells the story. It's hard to play. I actually tried to learn Atlantic City. It's kind of a different sort of. It doesn't sound that hard. He's strumming an acoustic guitar, singing. But the rhythm he's actually strumming with is hard to get the vocal with. Anyway, brilliant nonetheless. All right, that was 9. So number 8, we're going to one of my very favorite albums, the second record, Wild the Innocent and the E Street Shuffle, and we're going with Wild Billy's Circus Story. What I just said about the previous song, but just this vivid imagery. And this one, I love the different changes in tempo, uh, stops and starts, and gives you the different moods. With he kind of paints this picture of this sort of traveling circus, and just details all these different characters, and the freaks in the circus, and the strong man, and it's just it's pretty fascinating song, and just musically it's really interesting, because you got the acoustic guitar in there, then you have like an accordion and a tuba, and it's just weird instrumentation, but it's so wistful at times. It's just a beautiful song. I love it. I love it. All right, number 7. It's amazing I haven't hit this album yet, but number 7 is uh I mean, it's probably his most epic song, right? From Born to Run, got Jungle Land. I mean, the 8 minutes and whatever, it just, a street opera, right? Just an epic, epic song. Again, the dynamics on Jungle Land, that may be his most epic song. If I wanted to really impress someone with Springsteen, I might just send them to Jungle Land. Just amazing dynamics on that song, and again, the story that he tells is just phenomenal. All right, what do I got after that? Number 6, from the Born in the USA album, I've got Downbound Train. Just a killer guitar riff. Even some of the lyrics a little cheesy. Work down at the car wash where, what was it, where it never, no, yeah, I work down at the car wash where all it ever does is rain. Whatever. But some of the cheesy lines are overcome just by this great song, and overall the lyrics are actually pretty good. Just great guitar riff. Yeah, I think there was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there were 7 singles off of this album, and Downbound Train's not one of them. Tells you how deep this record is. It's my favorite song on here. And you're not gonna see this record again on this list. Yet it's not one of the 7 singles off off of here, right? It tells you something. All right, number 5. We've got a title track. It's going to be the title track, Tunnel of Love. Is the 45 single here, right? So Tunnel of Love. Let's hold up the single. Yeah, just I that should have been a bigger hit than it was. Man, there was a video, obviously released this single. I don't remember where it charted, but I just think this is just such a great mood. It's got that kind of synthesizer, that more kind of moody thing that he's doing a lot in this, not in the going into the '90s. But it's also got kind of a good drive and groove to it. Great guitar work with the acoustic guitar and then the electric in there, and I think it's one of his greatest songs. Obviously, I have it number 5, right? It's number 5. Love it, Tunnel of Love. All right, number 4. I think this is the greatest live Springsteen song I've ever heard, and it's off a bootleg, Winterland, 1978. this is the greatest Springsteen show I've ever heard, and it's widely bootlegged, and it's Prove It All Night. You know, originally from Darkness on the Edge of Town, but this live version, this live version is about like 12 minutes, and it's got this incredibly long build. But the build is so good. This build, and it builds up and builds up and builds up, and then just, I mean, I've used this term before, but it's common with live Springsteen, right? Just explodes. I mean, I think this is the hardest rocking, most passionate song I've heard from Springsteen. It's this live version that he was doing on this tour of Prove It All Night. All right. Top three. We ready? We ready to do top three? Let's see here. We have got, I'll reorder some stuff here. Going back to the second record. I mean, again, go back to my Springsteen rankings. You see where I put this. It's Incident on 57th Street. Again, 8 minutes or so, kind of one of these extended street operas. Lots of dynamics. I love this lineup, again, with Benny Lopez on drums, David Sanchez on keyboards, is a little jazzier, a little jammier. And I just love the dynamics of Incident on 57th Street. That whole second side of this album, it's only 3 songs. They all kind of blend into each other, and it's just this, probably the most epic side of an album of his whole discography. I think it's amazing. Now, number two and number one from the same record, at least the original versions. Now, number 2, though, I'm going with a pretty dramatically different live version. So, Born to Run. Now, I would never want to replace, the original classic, but for me personally, so originally off of Born to Run, but for me personally, the solo acoustic version of Born to Run that he did on the Tunnel of Love tour, it's available on this Chimes of Freedom EP, this 4-track EP that he released from that tour. It's just, to me, it's just something special. It has grabbed me emotionally ever since I saw him on this tour also, and I saw him do that, and it has always just really grabbed me. I mean, it can bring me to tears. It totally reorients the song. And again, I would never want to lose the original classic. Okay, I mean, obviously. But it's spare, it's acoustic, the tempo is slowed down, and it's just beautiful, wistful, just I don't know, it something special to me, But my number one Springsteen song would be off the Born to Run album, and it's an obvious pick, but for a reason. It's going to be Thunder Road. Thunder Road, I think, is the greatest Springsteen song. I think it encapsulates, especially the 70s era. Again, the build, starting with that beautiful piano part, and the lyrics are just perfect. Just an opening of the screen door slams, Mary's dress waves, like a vision she dances across the porch as the radio plays. Roy Orbison singing for the lonely. Hey, that's me, and I want you only. Just on and on and on. I mean, it's just, it sort of became a cliche later, Springsteen's, escape songs with car imagery, but when he was originally doing it, it was powerful stuff. And Thunder Road, again, just has that. I love dynamic changes in songs. And so I love that piano beginning, piano and the harmonica, and then the song builds and the rest of the band comes in, and then just, it's just rocking at the end. I just think it's the perfect Springsteen song. It really is. Well, all right, guys. What do you think? I want to hear in the comments. What are your favorite Springsteen songs? Let's talk Bruce. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Please do subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Like the video. Share the videos. All of that helps us out. And we'll see you next time on Amity Tracks.